Hey guys, how's it going? So today we are in the greenhouse again. I had planned on working in the south garden and clearing out more of the flower beds, but it has just started to snow. I mean, it's not coming down super hard, but it's chilly and wet. And there are things still to be done in the greenhouse. So yesterday we spent some time organizing and cleaning, and even though I love to be out here in the greenhouse no matter what the greenhouse looks like, it's just a pleasure to be out here when the plants are all groomed and watered. Everything's looking tidy. It just feels good to be out here in this space. So the two things we're gonna work on today out here before we go into the studio are planting our butterfly pea seeds, and we are gonna take cuttings off of our Chicago hardy fig and we are gonna propagate those. Isn't that gorgeous? Lavender Queen. I tried this last year, didn't have huge amounts of success. You know, sometimes if I don't have a huge flat of something planted, it can fall through the cracks. Last year I had just a little bit of these planted and I had so much going on that they got dried out a little bit too much in the beginning. So user error, that was my fault. This packet has 10 seeds, or it says it had 10 seeds, actually it's like 21. So I was pleasantly surprised. So we're gonna give it a go, and then Gardener's Supply just sent out, I don't know if these are brand new or what, but XL seed starting kit, which I think will be good. This is, once it goes, I think it's fairly vigorous. So I think having a little bit larger of and a longer pot will be nice. This also has a self-watering reservoir that holds up to 5 cups of water. And then we are going to be putting these in the studio on a heat mat. So I'm not going to be using the self-watering capability until the plants are germinated. But I was reading and it says that the ideal temp for germination is 78 to 100 degrees. That's warm. They're not going to get that out here. They would on a very warmish winter but sunny day. It does get that warm in here, but in the studio on a heat mat they will get the consistent heat that they need. And then also we've got humidity domes to go with it. They're cute. I mean, if humidity domes could be cute, these are. So I think there's 2 in here. Let's see. Yeah. And then this, see, it's yellow. There's no way I can miss this. I will see it every day. Okay, we've got our pots and they've got air vents. I don't know if you can see them. You see like they are completely open on the sides for air pruning of roots. And then there are 2 platforms in here, which once like today, I'm not going to be using the platforms or the capillary mat. I'll just set them down in their watertight tray and put that straight on the heat mat with those inside it until, like I said, until they germinate. Once they do germinate, we'll put the platforms in, and then the capillary mat goes across the top of those. And then one side just needs to fold down into the water so it can wick the water up. And then those will sit on that capillary mat and soak up the water that they need. We will keep the humidity domes on until those vines have germinated. Isn't that like a handy little set right there? And it fits nicely on the heat mat. So anyway, we're gonna give that a shot. So I'm gonna go ahead and get our seed starting mix moistened into the pots, and then we plant these seeds a 1/2 inch deep. And I'm just going to do 2 seeds in some of these cells and 1 in others and hope for the best. If we need to separate some later, we can. All done. We will need to mist these once we get them into the studio. I did put a fine layer of vermiculite on the top, which just helps with moisture levels, also helps combat any type of algae growth. But we'll get our heat mat plugged in as well, and they won't need any light. They won't need to go under a grow light until they start to germinate, which can be up to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks for germination. So you have to be patient with this one. Once these sprout, I'll get it all set up with the self-watering reservoir. The heat mat will be removed. We're only trying to heat up the soil to get them to germinate, and it's like that with any of my other seeds. I haven't started any of my other ones on a heat mat this year so far, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to use one. But in this case, because it requires such a high temperature, I think it's going to be a good idea. We're actually going to put the fig cuttings on a heat mat as well. But we will utilize the self-watering reservoir as soon as they have germinated. It's like that with my Growies seed starter trays too. I use a lot of those. These right here, they have the 24 cells. You can see they're not even in a watertight tray because I wanted them to drain out here. Stuff's doing great in them. Usually about this point, maybe a little bit bigger, I'll bring in the trays with the platforms and we'll get these set up on self-watering so that I won't have to water them as much anymore. But if you're using heat mats, then it just can't heat the water and the soil. So you have to have that soil layer closer to the heat mat. I'm excited about these though. It says they grow upwards of 6 feet tall and they are edible. So not only do they have pretty blooms, but they can be, it says the lovely flowers make a natural food dye and soothing tea to calm the nerves. Some days I need that. Full sun to partial shade and sow in average garden soil. Now we are gonna work on our fig tree project. This is the reservoir we're gonna use. I needed some kind of a tub or a tray to house 6 containers. This is our fig right here, and we would be pruning this if it was a bigger tree about this time. And you can see all of these branches right here. In fact, I left them last year as they were growing so they could harden a little bit because I do believe you want to wait until the wood has hardened and aged a little bit. Like this is a fairly new looking shoot. I'm gonna take it today anyway and just see what happens. But we've got this one, which I'm gonna turn into two stems to root, and then this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's one right down here. Most of these shoots look like they are growing up from like underneath a graft, but this tree is not grafted. And I don't know a tremendous amount about figs, just kind of in general, because we typically can't grow them here. Most figs want to grow in zones, I think like 7 through 9, there are exceptions. The Chicago hardy fig though is hardy to zone 6, sometimes even in zone 5 if it's planted in the right spot. You know, we have ours in a container. It lived in the Hartley all of last summer, well the winter before, and then last summer. It did great and it produced so many figs in that greenhouse last year. And they were so good. They were so sweet. It was only the 2nd year that I'd had it in this container. And I can't remember, the year before is when I bought it, and I can't remember when I actually planted it. I didn't get fruit off of it that first year, but last year it was just loads of them. And I was very happy with that. So I want a few more of these. And I don't want these growing here anyway, so it's kind of perfect. I want to maintain, you know, like my little lollipop sort of single trunk tree form here. So we're gonna go in and cut these off. See this? This is like hardened wood, and this is more green. So I don't know if that one's gonna take. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I have this baby spinach container. It just works out perfectly to reuse this because most of my other trays are being utilized at the moment. This should fit 6 of these 4-inch containers. I'm gonna put a little layer of raised bed mix though at the bottom first. This is just gonna act as a little bit of a platform because this is watertight. I don't want the pot sitting necessarily in water. Oh, I hope it fits 6. Oh, I think it should. Yes. Perfect. Look at that. I'm just going to mix in some of this regular potting mix with our seed starting mix that we had left over from the butterfly peas. I'm going to pre-moisten it. I think that'll actually be a really good blend. With that seed starting mix added into that potting mix, it'll help a little bit with moisture retention. We don't want it to hold on to too much moisture. The organic potting mix typically doesn't, but I think this is going to be a good blend. Okay, then we're gonna fill our containers. Shout out to the Urban Farmstead channel. That's the video I watched to prep to get ready to do this propagation project because I have not done this before. This is gonna be an experiment for me. Okay, I'm gonna kind of just lightly tamp it in. And then I'm gonna make a hole in each one of these. That is prepped. This is Dip and Grow, and I hope I have enough left in this bottle. It's been a while since I've used it. I only need to fill it up to the concentrate level line. Oh, I have enough. Might even be enough for one more treatment. And then we're gonna add some water before we dip our cuttings. It's more yellow than I'm used to. This is a really great example right here. See this area here, 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 here. I mean, all the way up the stem, you can kind of see those little joints. Those are nodes, or where buds for leaves would appear. those are what will produce the roots. So when we go into plant ours, we'll have several nodes underneath the soil surface. I am making sure that there's a node about 1/4 of an inch up from a fresh cut there. And then I'm just going to make a few slash marks, a few slashes along the bottom, and that will help with the rooting as well. And then we dip that in what should look like clear solution. Hopefully it's not gone bad. Then we put it in our container, and the reason we do the hole first is so that the rooting hormone doesn't get all wiped off in the soil. So we put that in and then just lightly press them into place like that. And for this one right here, this longer one, I'm gonna just about cut it in half, making my cut about 1/4 inch or so below that node. And then I'm gonna cut the top of this off just above a node. So I'm gonna make sure to plant this one facing up still. Okay, so that's our top right there, and new leaves will come out right here. And we've got a cut right there, just right below a node, and I'm going to slash this. Some people will even take their blade and do this and like completely expose. Like that. Dip and plant it. Done. Okay, let's do the rest of these quick. And here they are. I did top the whole thing up with a little bit more soil, just kind of covering the pots. And I had a little branch left from the base of one of these. And I thought it would be fun to see what would happen if I just popped it in right here. It's kind of in between, sitting in between this plastic container and the tray. We'll get to see the roots starting to form. I think that would be really fun if it works out. Now I've seen kind of mixed bag on whether or not to use that. It's like a paraffin type film that you wrap. It almost looks like plastic wrap to keep moisture in the cutting, and the buds will still break through it and it'll still grow, but it keeps moisture in for this part of the process, or to put a humidity dome over the top of them. We have so much humidity in our studio right now from all of the seeds that we're starting right at the moment. I mean, there's so much moisture going on in that room that we usually have to run a dehumidifier, and it gathers up so much water every day. I think it's going to be humid enough in there for these. I don't know. Like I said, this is going to be an experiment for me. We'll see what kind of results we get. But in terms of water, I think I'm just going to check on them, you know, every other day or so, kind of like I do all the rest of my stuff. I don't know how long it will take these to dry out. We don't want to keep them too wet, but we also don't want them to get bone dry. It's kind of one of those fine line things. But I am going to put these on a heat mat. I don't think they'll fit on this one. I'll have to get a second one out, but that will help speed up the process. But they don't need light either during this part of their growth. So it'll be very easy just to tuck them in, even on the floor somewhere in there. So let's head in. Okay, we're in the studio now. We're going to find a spot for the butterfly peas and our fig cuttings. But first, before we do that, we need to clean up a little bit. I've got some piles of things to take care of. This is our dehumidifier right here. I don't really know a whole lot about it. Home Point, what it does is it sucks in the moisture, and then, oh, I need to unload it. You pull this out. That right there is moisture it has gathered from the air in here. See that condensation on the window? That's why I think the fig cuttings will be okay, because that condensation and the humidity levels are still high even with this dehumidifier running. Once seed starting season is over though, everything levels out. But I just have stuff sitting here. I mean, baskets for projects. This is a really fun bamboo drying rack. Gardener Supply sent out a couple other things. I'll show you what's in all these boxes too. I've got some jugs. We save these throughout the year to do winter sowing. So these I need to just take up to the loft. We've got some supplies that have kind of just gathered that I would like to get organized back here. These two chairs are actually gonna go. Bethany's gonna take those home, and Aaron is gonna set up kind of a little office space out here. He has one of those standing desks, you know, one of the ones that raises and lowers, to go right here. So that means I wanna clear out this area for him. I'm gonna move these grow lights over to this area right here. And Paul right now is cutting out a few pieces of wood just to act as a I don't know, a sort of tray on these shelves. These are awesome and these are cheap, these shelving units, but you can't put anything small on them because of the slats. So I think having some wood trays on here will make it a lot easier to put a lot of this little like camera equipment stuff. There really hasn't been a great spot to put all that stuff up until this point. So I think when we reorganize, then Aaron will have a space for all of his stuff. I need to clean stuff out and just get things put away as well. So just a little bit of a shift in here. I mean, for example, this gob of cords. I've got one of the Oslo wall shelf racks right here from Gardener's Supply that you can install on a wall and put grow lights on. I've got some random trays, pumps. I've got a couple of broken pots. Like, where do you put this kind of stuff? But it would be kind of fun to do, you know, one of those tiered broken pot planters at some point. Just haven't done it yet. We've got different soils, containers. I have a spot for these. I don't know why they're right here. My dehydrated oranges. I can put these in a baggie and save these for next season, and just a bunch of random things. Like this needs to go out to the greenhouse. Got a bunch of our dried flower stuff from our dried flower project earlier on. Got pears from these came off of the Williamsburg topiaries we made for the front porch for Christmas time. We saved all of those so we can maybe do it next year. Craft supplies and really just supplies in general can be a little bit difficult to store. I mean, they take up a lot of space and you don't want to like hang on to too much stuff. But you also, when you do a lot of projects, you don't want to give a lot of that or get rid of a lot of it because you will need it again. It's kind of like when you buy, I don't know, like acrylic paints, for example. You know, I have a project come up here and there where I need acrylic paints and I don't want to have to go buy them every single time, but it might be 6 months, 9 months, a year before I need those acrylic paints again, but they don't go bad. So anyway, just random stuff. So basically what I'm going to do is just bring you along for as much of this organized project as possible. Hopefully it looks better in the end than it does now. It's done and it looks so much better. First of all, standing at the door, you can see against the back wall, the light systems have been moved, but that big old pile of stuff right here in front of the garage door, all cleaned up and put away. Floors have been semi-cleaned. Cleaned good enough for a seed starting room. Let me tell you, if I moved these light systems, especially these right here, you would find some stuff underneath those. And as I swing this way, you can see the chairs are gone. And that opened up a perfect space, I think. So Aaron's planning on putting the short side of the desk here and having it come out this way. And he's got plenty of room right there. This shelving unit, Paul got the wood shelves cut. So I was able to unload all of the windowsills and I put all of Aaron's equipment right there. And there's just a little bit of equipment, batteries and such right there. Windowsills have been cleared off though. Oh, I love that. I mean, this is inevitable. We have to have all this gear right here. And there's no sense in putting it away because we use it like every other day. We're using something right out here. I did move this grow light from the corner. It was right where the fern is, behind the chair. I figured Aaron may want some kind of lamp right there. I don't know. We might move that around. It might end up in the house. But all of these just fit in beautifully. There was another Oslo grow light system right here that I just had the random stuff on. So I moved that over as well. And I'm not sure that I'm supposed to have all these things stacked one on top of the other, but they seem pretty sturdy. Like this is just, I can't remember what the small Oslo grow light. And then these are the mini bamboo LED grow light systems, like the kitchen ones. I just stacked two on top, one on top of the other. They're not heavy at all. And I put the baskets up there. I'm gonna use those for a project, but they're super lightweight, so should be good. I lined up my most used items right here on this shelf. I'm gonna have to use this one for seeds here soon. But this is the basket of seeds I just started. I just haven't updated my inventory. So once I do that, then they will go back in their storage bins over there. Still was able to keep a few of the decorative things in here. Glass is just easier to keep in here because it just gets so gross in the garage, as well as baseball mitts. I keep all the gloves in here because I don't want spiders and dust and gross stuff in the mitts. That's where I draw the line. I put this bamboo drying rack here. I didn't really have a good spot for it because I also don't want that to get dirty, but we never use this door here ever, so I'm just gonna leave it there for now. It feels so open in here. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it. Oh, and last thing, almost forgot, on top of this grow light system, we had, you know, paper towels, Kleenex, rubbing alcohol, that sort of thing. I organized that onto other shelves and into my workbench so I could store our extra light stuff. We've got a few ballasts and some extra light bulbs and stuff like that. Those are hard to store. And oh my gosh, the most important thing right here is where I put our planting projects for the day. So I've got both of those heat mats plugged in. They're not plugged into the timer. They're plugged into the white extension cord that's above the timer. So they'll be on constantly. Again, they both don't need light until we start to see some growth. Now the figs, it is humid in here, but I do have a fan blowing in the direction of these seed trays. It's right there. So I just propped a tray up just to catch the worst of the wind. It's not much. Like I put my hand in front of it. I don't even really feel it, but I don't know, it makes me feel better. Oh, satisfying job right there. And that is gonna do it for today's projects. It just continued on snowing and raining. It's super gray and like squishy out there. So I may do some garden cleanup tomorrow. It kind of depends on what happens. We do have rain and snow on the forecast for the next little bit, but we are starting to warm up. We do have like a 51-degree day on the forecast, so that will be nice. But it's so nice to start the busy part of the season with clean spaces. It makes a difference. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll give you progress reports on the planting projects we did today, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.